Welcome to this episode of Talk is Biotech, Guillaume. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super happy to be here.
Great. Do you want to start with a quick introduction?
Of course. So my name is Guillaume. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Labtoo. Labtoo, it's the first outsourcing management solution. It was developed for the biotech companies and pharma companies to help them with their outsourcing challenges, including finding the right CROs, including finding the right human biological sample, and so on. So that's what we do at Labtoo.
Great. So what is your story? How did you decide to start Labtoo? And how has been your journey so far?
Okay, I actually did a PhD in the US. And the reason why I did a PhD is that I have a family story of cancer. So I've got many people in my family that died of cancer, including my mother when I was very young. I wanted to change the world. So, and to do that, I believe that science and biological science can do tremendous efforts to find solutions. Since I was very young, I had a very strong appeal to science in general. So when I was young, I decided to start biology studies. I started in France at Sorbonne University in molecular biology and biochemistry. And I was very, very lucky to meet some people in one of the Parisian institutes. It's called Institut Jacques Monod. And from there, I was sent to the NIH, actually, National Cancer Institute in Frederick, in Dr. Alan Weissman's lab for my master's degree. From there, we started a very interesting project. It was fantastic. And we decided actually it was okay to keep me for a PhD. So I did my undergrad and my PhD study, my undergrad internship and my PhD study at NCI Frederick. So I started to look for joining the industry. I joined a very large company, an American company that is called Biorad. I did multiple jobs there. It was very, very interesting, very challenging. I learned a lot of things as well. And one thing I learned also is that if I wanted to change the world, and that's my focus, and have the highest impact I could have, I had to go to the next step. So I started to think about what I could do with my background. And because I left the lab and doing my PhD, it was very fundamental research. There was no patent or anything. I didn't take the route of a student that is creating IP, doing the PhD and then doing a spin-off. It was not my case at all. So I thought about what I could do. I learned a lot of things in sales and marketing and Biorad. And also it was back in 2016, sort of. So at the time, it was the digital companies were creating. I mean, there were a lot of digital companies that were creating and answering many problems in our society in general and in our businesses as well. So I decided to create a digital solution first. So that was the first version of Labtoo. And from there, I mean, I've got a lot of learnings, but yeah, my first company was a digital company for sure.
And you started as a digital solution, digital platform, like a marketplace model. What is the current model and why and when you decide to pivot?
We started as a marketplace company, so very similar to Scientist or Science Exchange, except that it was based in Europe, in France. And also we wanted to emphasize the knowledge and the experience from the academic people. So that was the goal at the beginning. It still is actually in a way. It's not what we do, but we still like it very much. And we created this version of the platform that was pretty nice. We were trying to reach the small to mid-sized biotech companies at the beginning, because the big ones were already covered by the large marketplaces. So, and what we noticed is that the biotech companies were completely open to get insights and help for their outsourcing management part, but not so much to do it digitally. or
Right.
not like they had to have. So I'm saying that very, very to be very clear. Actually, our first customers, we talked to them on the phone, and we registered the deal on our platform ourselves for them, just because they didn't see the value basically. So we understood that the value was to us and to discuss a little bit and know that now we understand it very well. But basically, our customers, they trust and they give us the mission to make sure that what they need will happen, which is not always the case, not at all.
Right.
So that's and that can be that's very efficiently done by a team of scientists.
That's my learning too. I spent last decade marketing and selling life science softwares. What I learned is unless it becomes the part of your workflow, the user engagement will never be high, right? This industry is still a little behind when it comes to digital tools, adoption of new technology. They have access to all the tools, but the adoption is really poor. And if it becomes the part of your workflow for compliance reasons, or your company decides like a mandate to use it, that's when you see the adoption. But smaller company, they don't necessarily have defined workflows, how they are running different workflows. So integrate with their workflows, it's a little challenging. So
absolutely. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, because we build the platform, we build the network, we build the contracts also, or the tools that we needed to be efficient. When we decided to switch totally, and it was last year, when we decided to switch totally to a service made by human, it worked very well. I mean, it was very understandable.
More than marketplace, because this is a hyper specialized industry, human element is required. Even if you create a fancy AI powered tool, you still need real humans understanding like deep science. So it does make sense. Do you want to talk a little bit about how your current services work?
Yes. So now when the customer has a project, whether he expresses it through our website or through our prospection work, we will make sure that we understand it very, very well. We will try to understand it scientifically, of course, but also what is at stake. And because we understood that sometimes we received projects and we were providing a solution that was too good, not even too expensive. It was just too much. And sometimes it's not necessary to do that. So back to the beginning, when a customer arrives with a project, we ask a lot of questions about what exactly he needs in terms of delays, money, of course, science. Does he need help or no help? Does he need other services around it? Does he need in some cases the contractual aspects or the regulatory aspects to be taken care of? So and so on. So we do that.
It's like a RFP. They can just go to your website.
It is you know the RFP. Yeah, exactly. So it's an RFP, but now what we do is that this is a paid task. We want to make sure that the customer understands we are super engaged. When a project arrives, we are very dedicated to the project, and to make them understand that we actually ask to be paid to collect the information and start the search for the best solution.
So once they submit this form, let's say they are looking for next-gen sequencing, you will ask them questions like what sequencing platform they need, what type of samples, how many samples, if they have any preferred supplier, right? These type of questions, right? So you want to make sure the suppliers you match them with, they have all the context. And then how do you protect their IP while collecting this information?
So good question. So of course, we always work within the frame of a CDA on both sides. of course, on the side of the customer, but also on the side of any people we'll talk about the project. And we'll try to make sure that we go step by step. So we do a first round of can you do this? Will you be able to do that or this? And if yes, then we go the next step, but always under CDA.
Got
so
it.
That's that. And all the contracts that we do, so are 100%, that's a typical contract, service contracts. So it's 100% of the IP that is generated by the result that is owned by the customer.
Yeah, I think protecting their IP and non-disclosure is very important. Okay, you receive the request, you ask them all the contextual questions just so you can match them with right suppliers. Then you have partnership with a good number of suppliers, right? CRO, contract research organization. So how many CROs you match them with on an average?
It depends on the complexity of the project. So imagine, of course, that not a lot of people are asking us for sequencing because they only have to type on Google sequencing and they will find the solution. So they contact us when it's hard, when they can't do
Specialized.
it. Yes. So in that case, sometimes it's only a very, very, very small number of CROs that are able to perform the service. Yeah.
Got it. So if I need CRISPR engineered micropig that only one lab in Japan work on, so you can do all the research.
We will find it. We have 100% success rate, by the way.
Love it. Love
it.
So you have like expert team who is doing like continuously research, or is it more proactive or reactive? You receive a request and then they look for all of that, or you already have a big database that help you find these suppliers real quick?
So it's a little bit of both. We do have so for the first 2 years of Labtoo, we created a large network of suppliers, mostly in France and Europe. So that helps us also to understand who is doing what. Then the team. So we have a team. We are a team of 5 at the moment. So it's 4 PhDs. We do a little bit of technological intelligence. So we try to discuss from time to time with new suppliers that we don't know, understand what they provide and so on. We do it regularly. We spend not too much time on it, but of course it's very important to keep in touch with the new solutions. And then of course we have a prospective search when we have a request that we don't know and we don't know who is going to be the right fit. Then we start digging for the good CRO. In that case, so we do understand what they're doing. We can go and check if they have references. We can ask external references, and we do that sometimes. But at the end of the day, if we believe it fits, and if we believe that the customer needs to talk to them, they will. We will set up a call, and they will decide actually.
Got it. And when you receive requests, you take care of all the legal, finance. So customer, like what is the job of the customer here?
So the customer, we are doing everything to make it work. And that includes also getting the information and getting everything we need from the customer.
Right.
So I'm saying that because it's kind of a joke, but actually it's a reality. We spend and we ask a lot of questions to the customer, especially at the beginning, and then we will feed the customer the solutions and the learnings that we have so far. So, for instance, in one of our plan, we have weekly reports, and every week the customer will know where we are when it comes to identifying solutions, and if they move forward and buy the service. We also do the project management with the CRO to make sure that everything is right. So basically, it's a turnkey solution, and sometimes we bother a little bit the customer to make sure that even he understands that he has a job to do, and that's feed us with the right information.
Right. No, it's a lot of work when you outsource a project, right? You have to find the right supplier, and then you want to make sure the supplier is reliable. Then you want to make sure pricing is reliable, right? So there's so many things. And if you have a trusted partner, I think it does give you quite a bit competitive edge in a way.
Yep.
Cool.
Absolutely.
We already discussed this a little bit, but in your own words, why do we need outsourcing partner like Labtoo? Like, what is the clear business need here for biotech companies?
Yes. So the major reasons we identified is typically when the technology is not important to integrate in the lab, or when the biotech doesn't have time to do the project.
Right.
So that's the two major moments. But in our case, it's really when the good model cannot be done in the lab, if it's mice or difficult animals or even ex vivo stuff, and if the customer doesn't have the time or it's like the side. We do a lot of side projects, for instance,
right?
Because they have funding for that, and they don't have time. They can't do everything.
So mainly, whenever they are struggling with some busy requests, not the things that they can easily find CROs, right? All these big CROs are running Google Ads for all the strategic keywords. You can simply find them. But if there's any custom requirement related to their research area, that's when they come to Labtoo. So Labtoo understands their science, understand what suppliers are reliable, and make sure pricing is reliable, and then help them connect. Would you say that's like a clear differentiator of your services?
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything from choosing, suggesting, challenging the capabilities and the price. You mentioned that, but it's very important because there is no clear understanding of which price is cost this or this service. So it's important we have this understanding, and we help for that. Just want to emphasize that of course outsourcing is an equilibrium between what you do internally and what you do externally. So of course in our case we only see the things that are complicated or time consuming, but there are of course lots of companies that don't have labs and are doing R&D projects from A to Z with partners, with CROs, with academic labs, and they are doing it quite well.
Sure. Do you work with virtual biotech? Can you share one example?
Yes.
If there's virtual biotech. Yeah.
Actually, no, but yes, of course we do.
And do you want to share one example, like what type of company, like without sharing name and specifics?
Yes.
But there's early stage companies, super virtual, running from Starbucks or some other coffee shop. How and when they come to Labtoo and how Labtoo helps them?
Yep. So these companies, the virtual companies, are quite small, and they are biotechs, but typically not developing drugs. So basically, what we've seen so far is that the virtual biotechs we've worked with are on simpler projects or at the beginning of a project. And in that case, it's quite small. And for instance, there is one solution for diagnostics, and with artificial intelligence in it. This company is quite small, but it's a very nice technology. So they cannot generate the data to analyze. So in that case, they have to outsource. And other companies, they have multiple small projects also. So it's a lot of things like that. So small companies, they have a little bit of budget. They will try little things and see what works. And if one project works well, they will invest more in
it. Right. And smaller company, when they come to you, like, do they exactly know what they want, or you help them based on their product, and or do you have like regulatory knowledge, what type of approval, what type of studies they have to do to go to market? So what is the Labtoo's involvement here?
Typically, yes, the people know what they need. Typically, in some cases, we've done projects where we did a bigger feasibility study and to explain what would be needed, but that's not what we do. I mean, we've done it for, I can think of a couple of projects in the past year.
Right.
That's not so much of what we're doing
Sure.
every day.
And what advice would,
Yeah.
right, what advice would you give when someone is ready to outsource? Are there any 3 things or 5 things everyone should keep in mind before they even plan their outsourcing or when they start outsourcing their R&D projects?
Yes. So my opinion is that they need to spend a lot of time understanding who can do what. And my biggest advice is to say challenge the people that say they can do it. They can do it in a certain amount of time with a certain amount of money. So always double check, especially if it's complicated. If it's analytical stuff, then not that much because it's a competency that is very well developed. But if it's tricky, if it's a bit large, then challenge, and make sure that you get as much information because it's really important. That will be very important to make the choice. So that's the biggest thing.
So number one is basically do the due diligence. And when you're collecting proposal from these CROs, you want to ask all these questions to ensure they can really do it. Tip number 1.
Yes, tip number 1. Yeah, exactly. Beside that, I would say there are multiple tools, digital and non-digital. So to make sure that they can be helped in their outsourcing project. So of course, we are one of the tool. You are another type of tool. It is important to know that you are not alone, basically. So that's important. I mean, the project management softwares, consultants, lawyers for contracts, and so on. It's a journey, and it doesn't have to be done alone.
Sure. So I think number 1, you said more due diligence. Second is leveraging resources, whether it is consulting service like Labtoo, a platform like Labtoo, and any other tip?
Yeah, I can think of many things, of course. So on the contracted part, of course, nowadays the CROs are quite professional. They know they need a service contract, and they will address the IP issues. They will address the confidentiality. They will address the management of problems if there are. So typically, the contract is well covered. But on the documentation part, I think it's always better to ask for a timetable, for instance, or a schedule for the study. I think it's a good. It is a good piece of document on which you can refer to if needed. I think the service contract that needs to be very well done. The schedule, the study schedule is important. What type of deliverables they will get? So the report, if there is a chance to get a report for the study, and of course that is dependent on whether the biotech will need a full report, or let's say it depends. I mean, at some stage you have to show everything perfectly, so it's always better to ask for more, the small details, that everything is handled and written the way it's been performed and so on. So the report should reflect that. We've seen reports that are copy and paste and that have some mistakes in them, and we've seen reports that are very well done. But typically the reports that are very well done, it's because we ask them to redo it.
Right. And reports are important because so you can reproduce it, or reports are important so it will help you in the future regulatory approval process?
The short answer is mostly for the future. And it's whether it's regulatory, whether it's for your fundraising, whether it's for the different audits that you will have in the future. And I think it's very important, and some companies are doing that very well from the beginning. I think outsourcing requires a process in place. But putting a process in place will make sure that even for the small things, you will have all the information, all the contracts at the same place, and that you can show it in the future.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, documentation.
When you say report, like how important it is to ask for raw data too, or does it even matter?
It's it has to be. I mean, in my opinion, after that, it's only an opinion, but in my opinion, the raw data should be part of the deliverables.
Got it.
It has to be, and it should be the file coming out of the machine untouched.
When I think about report, I think like analyze report, analyze data, but you're saying collecting raw data should be the part of it.
Yeah.
Makes
sense.
It's
part of the deliverables. Yeah.
Sure. What about pricing? Because I know you are more in specialized request area where the pricing difference is probably not an issue, but more generic routine experiments, pricing can range like quite a bit difference I've seen. So do you have any tip like how to find the best pricing for your research project?
So first of all, I love pricing. So pricing is one of the subjects that I really, really like. It's something that I've done in the past, and it should be much easier to have a common ground for pricing for experiments. But it's not the case. So market is not ready for very easy to understand pricing. It's not the case, and it will not happen. It's too diverse. So the solution for my tip, of course, is what I said earlier, is that you will only have a sense of pricing by asking multiple companies or CROs or labs for quotations, but full quotations. Right. And even though it's sometimes it's very difficult because not everything, the lines will be different, and the package will be different, and but either way, it's okay. It's a question of experience and spending time on understanding what's going on.
Right.
So we'll see in the future. I had a automated pricing suggestion tool in my first version of Labtoo. So I tried it.
Right. And where do you think, is there any outsourcing trend that you have noticed, or where the industry is heading towards, and let's say in the next decade?
Well, in the next decades, so what we've seen so far, there is a lot of things that we are done still in animals. So the animal models are still very, very important in the R&D process. I think I would love to see ex vivo models or complex spheroids or cellular matrices that can do the test quite well. I mean, we've done tests with complex matrices, and that's fantastic. But it's not as strong. It's still not as strong. So the trends are still that the animal models are going to be there for a while. And the second trend that we see is that there's a lot of testing done on human cells, and if possible fresh, and that's possibly because the cell culture technologies and skills have gone better. So I think many labs and companies like to do the test directly on human cells, and that makes sense. Right. So that's my view.
So one, you said industry will eventually move towards 3D and ex vivo, but current reliance is on animal, and it's going to stay that way for a good enough time until we really have 3D model that recapitulate real disease condition, right? We are not there yet, but we are. Yeah.
But in some cases we are. That's a pity. I mean, we've seen models that are getting better and better. So so we cannot push because it's a choice, but we try to sensibilize our customers sometimes on alternative models.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the areas where quite a bit innovation is happening. Right, we have bioprinting, we have organoids, we have human on a chip, microfluidic models.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any other area where innovation is happening quite a bit that you see or you hear from your customers?
Well, so the innovations are, I think we've seen the reprogramming of the cells, the
Right.
usage of the stem cells, and recreating the capabilities of. This is in motion. This is in.
Right.
This is. Well, we've seen CAR-T, of course, and there are patients that are being treated at the moment. We'll see where it goes. We'll see. So, of course, it's at this stage where the genetic engineering is a bit on hold, or like the CRISPR stuff are not. I mean, are still looked upon very, very closely, but no, I think reprogramming is the key.
I agree with you, because what I have seen is biology is becoming more and more like engineering, right? You can redesign, you can reprogram your cells and use it for your desired goals. So it is like a new shift in the industry, because historically industry focused more on discovery mode, right? But now it changed its gear, or changing its gears, and becoming more and more like engineering. How can I use this to produce my desired protein scalably, right? So there are quite a bit changes happening that way. If someone is ready to outsource or running a biotech company, when they should contact Labtoo, and anything you want to share to early stage biotech company, and when they're ready to outsource, or when they should be ready to outsource.
I think it's fantastic, first of all, to start a biotech company. I think I'll do it at some stage in my life. That's pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm a practical guy, so I think a biotech company is trying to address one issue. So of course you spend 12 years addressing this issue, so it's a very long time, and it requires a lot of focus. So first of all, I think it's very brave to start a biotech company. And when do we start working together? Basically, that's a good question. Well, I think the biotech company is basically built on a knowledge, on a know-how that is coming from an academic lab, typically.
Right.
So there is this is like this is the beginning. So that's like a baby life of the biotech. It's like what they are. It's not a human being, of course, but it's a biotech being. But it's what they are. And when they want to go and learn new things, then they have to explore the world, and we can definitely help them with that. So this first step can be very short or very long, depending on if they get funding, if they get results, if they get if the patents are already in place, or everything needs to be done. But once they need to explore a little bit, and it's like when you change. And that's what I was saying from the beginning. Then we'd be happy to discuss, and we'd be happy to make sure that we show a very nice side of the world.
I love how you put it. So all biotech company, when they start, they have their own know-how, very specific knowledge. But it's a hyper specialized industry, right? They cannot learn everything. They cannot acquire all the innovative technologies in the world.
That's right.
They have to rely on external knowledge, like collective intelligence in a way. So what you are saying is Labtoo help them explore that expanded world and really supplement and complement their internal strengths, their domain of strengths.
Yeah, the core.
Cool. Love it how you put it. Guillaume, always a pleasure talk to you.
Yes, go.
And
Always a pleasure.
I will speak to you soon. Okay.
Sounds very good.
Soon. Bye.
Thanks.